Well, China is set to overtake the U.S. to become the world's largest economy by 2020. That is helped by faster expansion and also an appreciation of its currency, the Chinese yuan. This is all according to our next guest, Standard Chartered Bank's chief economist, Gerard Lyons. Gerard, thank you so much for joining us. And you seem optimistic about this, much sooner than what other economists are expecting with China.
Yeah, well, the report is actually focusing very much on the supercycle, and within that, China is a key driver. To put this in context, the world has twice had supercycles, one at the end of the 19th century, the second one after the Second World War. And we think the world is experiencing the supercycle now, despite the problems in the West.
Gerard, let me just stop you there. Explain what you mean by supercycle.
Yeah, this is a period of global strong growth lasting a generation or more, driven by a combination of factors. The scale of the economy is growing, increased trade, and driven by what I call perspiration, more people working, more people spending, and inspiration, greater technology, greater creativity. And it's difficult for many people in the West, in the States or here in the UK to comprehend this because things have been so difficult at the moment. But interestingly enough, the world economy has doubled in size over the last decade and is actually now bigger than it was before the crisis began. This is partly because of policy in the West, but more particularly it's because of the likes of China and the fact that the emerging economies, which are 1/3 of the global economy, the fact that they are driving 2/3 of global growth. So hence China, India, others are becoming bigger, driving increased trade, and as they become bigger, as they continue to grow, they actually exert even more influence.
Okay, so
the China aspect.
So Gerard, so China becomes #1, with the U.S. drops to #2, and then who becomes #3?
Well, eventually India becomes #3, but that takes a lot longer. But the important thing is that the West doesn't necessarily lose out. The winners in this shift are the countries with the cash, the commodities and the creativity. The US doesn't have the cash at the moment, or not much of it. It has some of the commodities, but it has a lot of the creativity. So in terms of numerical order, yes, China becomes 1, the States becomes 2. Japan is still up there #3 for a good while until India displaces it. But the important thing is that the West still has the ability to do well by embracing change, by selling into the markets like China, and also by trying to remain competitive by being creative.
But that creativity, though, is only going to last for so long as China and India start to become more creative.
No, well, look, I think the cake gets bigger. The difficulty is that many people keep thinking these guys are having a bigger slice of our cake. But the interesting thing is not only has the world doubled in size over the last decade, but on credible projections, that is assuming China grows 6.9% on average over 20 years, assuming India grows just over 9%. So pretty conservative estimates in some respects. The world economy, in real terms, more than doubles in size to about $129 trillion. So that means that the cake is getting bigger, so the West can have a slice of that bigger cake.
A bigger share of the pie.
Maybe, or a bigger share of the pie, but the biggest share of the pie in the future goes to the emerging economies.
Okay, and Gerard, really quickly though, what about the chance of China getting off track though?
Look, the important thing, as I stress in this report, is that the business cycle exists in China, in India, as it does in America and the UK. We've had a big setback here in the West, but we're coming out of it, albeit gradually. Yeah, China is going to have a business cycle. The trend is up, but there's volatility along the way. That's the key message. And if there's any weakness in China, buy in it. But also at the same time, China needs to let its currency appreciate.
Okay, all right. Gerard, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Gerard Lyons of Standard Chartered Bank.